Okay, everyone. All right, we're going to continue with our meeting for the day. We have our keynote speaker, Susan Coppock. Okay, good. I thought I was going to mess that up. Susan is a storm chasing photographer with over 45 years of experience. She has numerous awards, best in shows, and has been published in magazines, museums, galleries, and has several personal collections. With that, I'll just let her do the rest.
I'm going to make sure. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Okay. But see, I'm a teacher, so I can yell really easy. So, better? You guys can hear me all good? Oh, I can hear the echo now. Okay. Hi. My name is Susan Coppock, and I have been shooting since I was 14. And I don't know, some of you guys might remember the old Polaroid swingers. Remember those little guys? That's what I started on. Thank you for shaking your head, yes. That's what I started on, and it's been my passion since then. So, and then in the last 20 years or so, I got into storm chasing, and that's my favorite thing on the planet to do. And especially because I'm an old woman and I'm out storm chasing. Yeah, it's awesome. So what I love about tonight is that I've been giving this presentation for several years, and the last time I gave it in person was to the Sierra Club, like in 2019. Every other time's been on Zoom. So it's so great to have people like looking at me and talking, and it's like teaching. I love it, because you make eye contact and it's awesome. I think it's the greatest. So I'm so happy to be back where I feel like I belong. So thank you. And so I'm giving a presentation. First I have to say this, since some of you are my age. I have wet macular degeneration. So doesn't this kind of remind you, any of you who have that? Okay, so just so you want to know, that's what it looks like. Yeah, that wavy thing, okay? So I have to get shots in my eyes every once in a while. Fortunately, it's only one eye, my left one, not my right one. So anyway, I've been shooting for a long time. I just retired from teaching high school 2.5 years ago, and I miss it. So like when Manny was going to record this and he said, "Is it okay?" And I said, "Of course," because anybody who wants to see this again and again and learn, or contact me and learn, I'm all for that. I love teaching this. I remember years ago when I would see some people speak and they were kind of jerks, and they would go, "I'm not going to tell you how to do it." And I think, really? You think I'm going to like take your exact same shot and, whatever, right? So I want to give all I can to everybody, so never hesitate to contact me about. So I'm going to give you at the end some contact information, and please do, because there's nothing better than to get a call or even an email or a message and saying, "Susan, I'm out and it's 2 o'clock in the morning," and like my ex-students do that. I have a lot of ex-students that do that. So it's awesome. So I love it. So, and also to that end, if you have a question in the middle of anything, don't wait till the end. Raise your hand then. I have no problem answering any questions. I was a teacher, so that's how you learn. Because if you have a question, chances are 10 people around you have that same question. So, and I'm being obsessed with storms. I'm totally obsessed with storms. And the thing about getting struck by lightning, everybody always says the same thing to me. "But Susan, aren't you afraid when you're out there?" No, I'm way more afraid driving on the freeway. Yeah. And I was reading some statistics a few months back just to see, and there's more people killed by falling coconuts than lightning. So just so you know, don't go under coconut trees, okay? So this is me out in the desert. Here I am again on Flagstaff, Arizona. This is what I was shooting. We dress up so nicely too when we shoot. All right, so I come from a long line of fishermen. My dad's a fisherman, my brother, my grandfathers both were. So every time I'm out there, this is what it kind of reminds me of. So, you're like, "Trust me, you want to catch this is the place." And everybody tells you, "Go here, go here, go here." And then, of course, nothing happens, right? So no matter if you have the right tackle, the tastiest bait, the perfect fishing spot, the fish may still not bite and lightning may not strike. So you can see a great storm going off and off and off and off, and you go drive over there and you're like, yes, and then it's over there, which is invariably what happens. So this is some days the fish win. So yeah, like sucker, 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 sucker. This is what we feel like sometimes when we're out shooting. And this is exactly how I feel a lot of the time when I'm shooting lightning. But when you get a shot and you really are excited about it, then it's worth every second to me. So this is on the border of Arizona and New Mexico. When I go storm chasing, I go almost always. I was a high school teacher, so I had summers off. So I used to go with one of my ex-students. It's not used to, still do. I go with one of my ex-students. His name is Cameron, and he is just turned 30, and I'm going to turn 70 this year. And we go every year for 1 week this will be our 13th year. And it's just he and I. And when he got married 4 years ago, I was one of his best men. How cool is that? So his wife goes, we know you two have to go do this. And so we just go together every year. And he lives in Cabo San Lucas now. So he comes up, I pick him up, we drive to the desert for a week, and then we come home. And it's just like what we're going to do every year. So this is on the border of New Mexico and Arizona. I'm in Arizona shooting into New Mexico. That's where the monsoon season is, in July and August. Who was it that moved? I think Lee. You said you moved to Arizona, right? Yeah. And you said it's like 100 and whatever, right? So when we're there in July and August, it's like, for some reason, it's almost always 117. It feels like that's always the time and what it is. Yeah. So it's hot usually. All right. So, but I'm going to show you all the accessories and tips, and it's so much easier than you think. And you know what? I thought this was so fortuitous too, because we've had some storms around, right? Yeah. And so I kept looking, and of course, that this was the part where the lightning was fast moving. The rain deluge was not, but the parts where they had lightning embedded in them was. So I keep an eye on those things. So I use an app that's called WeatherBug. Now, I'm just going to show you what it looks like, and you don't have to use that, of course. But and things, are so much better now than they were. There's lots of fancy ones, and I say use a good app or go with someone who's a budding meteorologist. Another one of my students was a budding meteorologist, and I'll show you some shots I got with him. And actually, this is one of them. And so he could tell me, because he has all these fancy apps, and it's way beyond my pay grade. I can't understand them at all. But he'll tell me this and this and this. So here's what I use. So this shows the cells. I can do this, right? Yes. Look at this. How cool is that? So see the cells? Okay. So the red part is almost always going to have lightning in it. And this is, it looks like yellow blobs, but it's actually lightning strikes. You can see what they look like. They're like this. So if you're a Charger fan, they look like those bolts. Anyway, this is all embedded. So we're driving. So when I'm going there and chasing, we're always driving. And we never have a plan ahead of time because you don't know where things are going to go. But we try to look at stuff and we know that it comes. 2 years ago it was very inactive. In the monsoon season last year was pretty good. But you never know exactly. So it's remarkably simple. You just really need a tripod and a remote shutter release. That's it. Really, that's all you need. Okay. We're always looking for dirt roads that we can go on that are off the main path. First of all, you don't want to get hit, and also you don't want car headlights going around all the time. So, you have dirt roads. I have a Subaru now, Forester, but before that I had Priscilla the Wonder Prius. So Priscilla the Wonder Prius took us everywhere. And people would say to me like this, we would pull up somewhere and they'd be like this. And I won't tell you how many times Priscilla got stuck, but 2 of the times we got saved by really interesting people. So that's really cool. But anyway, it's really fun. So you know, when you can get something like this, where it's just, for me, the reason I love it so much is I know people who do still life, I know people who do portraits, love them all. I judge a lot of photo clubs, love every work, love abstracts, love everything. But this is like a gift from the heavens. I have no clue what's going to come. It's like magic to me a little bit. So for me, that's what I love about it. This is called Escapee Bolt because it has a little bolt coming out right there. Oh, shoot. I'm sorry, I touched that. I know. Sorry. Okay. So I bring, you know, obviously water because we're in the desert, towels, food, a chair, flashlights, toilet paper. This is funny because a lot of people, and you guys are probably going to ask me, do you do workshops? Anybody know the problem with that? Yeah, and I'm in San Diego. If I lived in Flagstaff or I lived in, you know, Tucson, great. You know, I could do workshops. But also, I don't know how many people want to go pee out in the desert, you know, and other things, right? You? Yes, me too. Okay. So TP for that, a jacket, because we've had the temperature drop 40 degrees in 3 hours before. And we were freezing, you know, like, because we're so used to the heat and stuff. So that's what you should bring. Okay, and so you want to be out of the rain. Now, one of the things that happened with this storm system that we've had is that it's just rain, you know. So I'm looking for cells, but all the little cells in them are just what we call rain wrapped. And that's no good. I mean, I'm going to show you that I've shot in the rain many, many times, but I don't want to because, first of all, it diffuses things, you know, and you can't see as well. Probably it's dangerous too, but I never give a hoot about that. I'm kind of bad about that. So, and I told my daughter's 29, I know, Mom, if you die being hit by lightning, you died happy. That's right, babe. Okay. So you want the lightning at a distance, okay, for obvious reasons. So what I'm looking for here, when I look at these cells, is I'm looking for the front end of the cells. I know, but I'm right here, so. Oh, to record, I'm sorry. Okay. So you see the beginning here? This is rain wrapped behind it. That's all rain. So we want to be at the front end, and it's moving, it's always moving in the direction usually where the lightning is. So we want to be at the front end of them. So that's where we're going to drive to when we're doing it. Okay, so another thing I see a lot with lightning online or whatever is that so often people just get pictures of lightning. And to me, you know, that's kind of boring. I mean, lightning is always great, but it's just boring to see, I think, just a bolt of lightning. So I'm always looking for other elements. So I went on this great search for swahoros in my picture for a long time. You're going to see lots of them now, but I think for the first 4 years I'd never got one. So I'm always looking for that, to have something that enhances the scene. This is bounce rock and arches. So because to me that enhances the scene. You know, it's not just lightning, it's a photograph that has lightning in it that looks cool. So I'm always looking for good light, good composition, all of that. Yes. Oh, I'm going to show you all that. It's coming. It's coming. So there's another swahara. This one was interesting because it was right by the Phoenix city limits, which is usually we're not near the city at all. And this just happened to come right when I was going, we were heading out, trying to find more stuff. And I was like, yay, I got my swaharo. This is Bell Rock in Sedona. And I had the camera set up with this framing, with the framing in the foreground, everything there. And it's like in a little parking lot, which was kind of cool. And, you know, rain's coming down. And I'm like, all I need is one bolt. And I got one bolt. So that was happy. So you can shoot with telephoto or wide angle lens, depending on what you want, kind of. This was the telephoto, so I'm super, super close with that. I don't use I have a 150 to 600, but I would never use that for lightning because, first of all, you're lucky if you get lightning in a wide angle shot, right? So if you're now going into this much, chances are you're never going to get, unless, I mean, there have been some storms where it hits and hits and hits and hits in one area, but that's pretty rare. So I usually have two cameras, one with a telephoto on it and one with a wide angle. And sometimes in the same direction, like, this, and sometimes in opposite directions, because it's really great when you have storms going on all around you. That's really cool. A friend of mine, Byron Augenbaugh, anybody know of him? No. He's a San Diego photographer, and he just died last year, exactly a year ago. And he was, I think, 88. Yeah, 88. He died on his 88th birthday. And he's like my mentor. And he, in the old days when it was film camera, he set up 11 cameras and tripods, all like this, going up. And he has magnificent stuff. So anyway, I just want to give him a little shout out. All right, so camera settings. Here you go, Manny. So I set my shutter on bulb or 30-second exposure time. Depends on how dark it is. So I'm going to talk about shooting lightning in the daylight too, so you'll see that also. But it's much easier to shoot when it's darker outside because you can do longer exposures. When they see my work sometimes, my work is in a lot of galleries, and I talk to a lot of people sometimes when they're looking at my work, and they go, "Wow, how did you catch that in such a short time?" I go, "Because I don't use a short time. You use a long time, right? So you want the shutter to be open for a while. So on bulb, the shutter stays open as long as the shutter's depressed or you lock it down, right? So it depends. If it's very dark, I'll do that. If when I take, because I'll usually take a test shot of it without the lightning at 30 seconds and see if it works, if the ambient light works at that exposure time, and then I'm good because I know when the lightning comes in, then it'll be okay. So that's what I'm looking for with that. So on bulb, I can keep the shutter open for a long time and catch a bunch of lightning strikes in one picture. Now this kind of picture you see all the time, and I don't like it at all. To me, it's just boring. It's just a bunch of strikes. There's no foreground. There's nothing cool about the anything. Yeah, Carlos? I'm sorry. Go ahead. It's coming up. Everybody who's asking a question, it's coming up. I promise. Carlos. Okay, cool. It's coming up. I promise. Okay? So keeping the shutter open for a long time when it's dark, you can catch all kinds of lightning stuff everywhere. This one was the first Swahoro I ever got. And this is kind of a fun story because lightning, see, this is kind of cool because there were crawlers coming along, and then the regular CGs, which is cloud to ground lightning, and then more crawlers down here. And so this is about 2:30 in the morning outside of Phoenix, kind of in the boonies outside of Phoenix. And we're on this dirt road, and I'm like, oh, there's Swahoros out here. But, and we had our tripod set up in the road. And I'm like, but I got to light them up. So getting ready to get a flashlight, and all of a sudden they're lit up because a truck came coming in on that dirt road. And we're like, this is 2:30 in the morning, which is a little scary sometimes. So, you're like, okay. And usually when that happens, which is not very often, people will say, hi, what are you doing, or whatever. And the guy was just like, and we were like, I was like, okay, but look, he lit up my scene with his headlight. So yeah, it's okay. So that was good. This is outside of Wilcox, Arizona, in southeastern Arizona. And so you want to use manual focus. You don't want to use autofocus. So the way to do that the best is on your lenses, you see where you have the infinity symbol, right? So you want to test that because going all the way to infinity is not always the way where it's the sharpest. So run some tests. So I know that I have to move mine 1/4 of an inch in from that on the lens I use the most, my 24-105. I have to come in about 1/4 of an inch, and that's when it's going to be the sharpest. So that's what I'm looking for with that. And because you don't want that where it's trying to catch onto something and it doesn't know. So you don't want the autofocus on. This was kind of cool because it got a little rainbow in there too. Yeah, that's what I think too. It looks like a person. So now aperture. So the aperture is dependent on how bright the strikes are and how far away they are, or both. So this is at f8 because it was medium. But if it's really, really far away, but invariably, you guys already know what happens, right? It's really far away. Okay, I'm going to go to f4, right? Because it's kind of far away and dim. And then the huge one comes like right here and blows out my whole scene, right? So then I stop it down to f22 because this blew out my whole scene for the next one, and it gives me really light ones and I don't get anything, right? Yeah. I mean, this is really what happens a lot. So f8 is a good bet because it's kind of in between both, or 5.6 even. And because you're shooting camera raw most of the time, you can pull back some of those highlights. So not always, because that lightning is really, really bright. So you can't get that sometimes. So this one was one of my favorite ones. This was with my meteorologist student, and this is called Quartzsite Power and Light because it was right outside Quartzsite, Arizona, which is in western Arizona. We very rarely shoot in western Arizona. This is almost close to the California border, and so it's super, super dark out because it's all cloudy, and we finally see a dirt road because we're seeing all these great strikes everywhere, and we see this dirt road and we pull off. We have no idea there's power lines there. None. So then when we take the picture and look at it, we both go, I'm sorry, holy shit, right? Because there's power lines right there. You know, what if it hits one of those and, you know? So, but then you get a shot like this, so you go, it's okay, right? So my aperture was set at f22 because I knew they were blowing us out. They were blowing us out that night. In fact, it blew us out so much after but we got to shoot a long time that time, maybe an hour, which is very rare. And then it was deluge. And I have my Forester with the moonroof, and we were sitting in the car looking up at all the lightning over our head, and we're both like this, gosh, we want to be out there so bad, so bad. But when we got out of the car, the water was a foot deep. You know, it was like a you know, flash flood, because, you know, everywhere in the desert it does that. So these are the closer up ones and the brighter ones. Now, this is a big argument with a lot of people. When Cameron and I go, we don't want anybody around us. I'm a loner. I don't like a million people around me shooting the same thing I'm shooting. So we go to places where there's nobody. And but when I've encountered people who are shooting lightning, some of them have this attitude, and they, you know, say, you know, something like, "What are you set on?" And I say, "ISO 400." "Oh my God, you can't shoot at ISO 400." You know, I say, "Why?" "Well, because it's all, you know, going to be so noisy and and I go, you know, I love the detail in the clouds. That's my thing. Byron actually, when he stopped shooting a year ago, or right before he died, he had been shooting as long as I was alive, 69 years. That's like incredible. Since he was like 16 years old, he was shooting. And he always shot at 100 because, you know, you want to keep the shutter open a long time, all of that. And so when he saw my pictures, he was like, "Yours are better than mine." I was like, "There's no way." And he said, "But because you have more detail in the clouds." And I said, "Because I'm shooting at ISO 400. Because my thing is, I love clouds. I think clouds are just magical. So for me, I want to get detail in them. But I've had other storm chasers, you know how people get sometimes. You just ignore them, whatever. So here's the fun daylight stuff. So this is right outside of Las Vegas. It's like a question mark kind of thing. So if you do not have a 10-strop neutral density, which I'm going to show you in a minute, you have to shoot at your lowest ISO, which for most of us is 100. Some people have cameras that go to 50. Your smallest aperture, 22 or f32. And you want to keep the shutter, because, and I use then aperture priority, because I want to set it at the smallest aperture possible. So then the shutter will stay open as long as it can, based on that small aperture, okay? And then set the camera on burst mode, lock down your remote to rapid fire, because you kind of count between strikes, so you have an idea of when the next batch is going to come in. And so you know, if it's, let's say it's 20 seconds, then at 18 seconds I'll start firing. But, you know, it's almost always wrong, you know? But when you're right, yay. But you have to have manual focus, set the lens at infinity, and then you take 1,000,000 shots like this. I actually counted how many I got on this one, 1,291 shots. And you're trying to see if any lightning is in them, and then you get this crappy little tiny bit of lightning in there, right? So not my favorite time to shoot in daylight. Now, there's another big controversial thing is lightning triggers. Although in the last year, and the guy, my ex-student, the meteorologist, budding meteorologist, told me he uses the Pluto trigger now, and he loves it. And before, both of us, when we went shooting, we hated triggers because I've had 4, and none of them have worked. And there's nothing worse than knowing you could have got the shot if you had your camera like you would normally set it, and the trigger didn't get it. It's like, oh, you know. So he says the Pluto one, the newer Pluto one, is great. So I'm giving you that. If you, I'm probably going to buy it before I go shooting next year. So the ones that are more expensive, of course, seem to be better from all the reviews I've read. That's a 10-stop neutral density filter, so it cuts 10 stops of light. Now, many of you, I'm sure, have mirrorless cameras. I do not. I shoot with the Canon 6D most of the time. I have a 5D Mark II also, but you want to shoot, if you do that and you have, like I have, it sucks because you can't change your direction because you can't see. You know, when you're looking through the lens at the, you know, because the mirror is reflecting up your image and you cannot see through that neutral density filter at all. So you have to take it, unscrew it, and then move it over, screw it back on, and then you miss the most perfect bolt right every time. This is a cool shot because this was on my way to school. I live in Vista, California, which is north of San Diego, and I taught at Encinitas at high school there. So I allowed myself an hour extra day every day to shoot at the ocean, just because I love to shoot in the mornings and sunrise. And lightning was right over the ocean. This is an Oceanside. And I'm super excited because, I'll tell you a story more about it later, but this one story is, I'm super excited because there's lightning over the ocean in the morning, which we never get. And in San Diego, even better. So I post this on Facebook, and Carter, my meteorologist guy, goes, "This is me." And he had texted me that morning, "Did you see that it's going off?" I said, "Yes, I'm like 5 minutes away. I'm going to be there." But he never told me he was right by Tamarack, like I was. And so when I posted this, he goes, "That's me." And I was like, yes, that's so cool. No. When I was driving to the coast, I saw it starting to go off. And then I looked at all my apps, and I was driving a little fast, yeah. And also, it was the first time in my 23 years of teaching that I was late for work. Hey, Principal Adam, hello. I'm going to be a little late because, you know, there's so much rain out here and it's kind of flooded everywhere. He goes, "No, I know where you are." Yeah. Yeah. So this was that same day, and I love when you have the foreground of the sort of public art, you know, that people put up this art just because they can, you know, and I think it's so cool. So that's ambient light. I love ambient light in my pictures too. Just a black sky with lightning is really boring to me. That's why I like clouds so much. So like this, you know, the clouds are like amazing. And so when you can get a sunset at the same time that you get the lightning, it's really great when you can do that, or sunrise. Usually it's sunset because monsoons start late in the afternoon. Usually 1 o'clock to 4 o'clock is when they start gathering up. So this is outside of Palm Springs. That was really cool with the colors coming up like that. Sunset. And the safest place to be in lightning is in your car. Absolutely, 100%. So I have actually bought a mount that goes on the window of my car so I can shoot out my car sometimes. But, you know, Byron used to get mad at me because I would get out. He'd go, "Get in the car, too close." I go, "No, I gotta go get closer." So, all right. Lightning will always have a color cast. It's almost always this magenta color, this purple pink color. Almost always. Not always, but almost always it has that color. Now, so you get like, you know, the regular, you know, overcast blues like you normally get, and then you get that magenta purpley color in there. Even when it's really dark out, that color comes up. you don't like it, change it to black and white. I like it sometimes, and this one I didn't think it helped it any, you know. That color is just all shades of purple, and it wasn't that great. It didn't have the contrast of different colors that I like. So like this has lots of different colors. So this is post-processing, okay? So this is before post-processing up here, and this is after. So I'm going to talk just a little bit about that. So I usually have to take the highlights down. So if you look, whoops, back, sorry. I'm trying to do this. There we go. So see here how it's all blown out? So I have to take those highlights down. So I'm in Camera Raw, I take those highlights down most of the time. Not always. Sometimes I want to bring them up. Sort of depends on what it looks like. And so I want to get more structure and detail, so I'm going to use Nick filters. I use structure, texture, all that stuff in Photoshop. I'm a Photoshop person, not a, because I've been doing Photoshop since it started, so I'm not a Lightroom person. That's just because I've been using Photoshop forever. So, and Lightroom's just a, little different version of Photoshop. So this is the steps. So there's the from the camera is up here. So you said press it twice, and I'll get an arrow. Whoops, back. Sorry. One more. Okay. Top button. I'm pressing the top button. Okay. We're gonna. I am pressing the very top button. I swear. Watch. It's okay. I was pressing the top button. Yeah. Okay, great.
Just double click really fast.
Okay. All right, whatever. It's okay. Okay, there. All right. Okay, this is from the camera. Straighten the horizon, of course, and also do the lens correction too. And tap down the highlights a little bit. And then I'm adding contrast, brightness, shadows or brightness, whites. I almost always lighten the whites because I want the bolt to be brighter. And then, so I add structure in Nick Vivesa in this one, enhance the colors in Adobe Camera Raw. I darken the edges because I don't really need those. I want my attention to go in. I use dehaze to lessen the dust and add clarity and noise reduction. Right now I'm using Topaz AI for noise reduction. Although sometimes I have to use a couple, because one of the things that happens when you're out shooting, it's like you were saying, Lee, about how hot it is even in the morning and at night in Arizona. So I'm shooting sometimes for 6 hours, and I'm firing over and over and over, and my camera is overheating. Not really overheating, but it's getting hot. And so I have a lot, even though I might be shooting at ISO 400, I get a lot of noise. Really a lot of noise. So Topaz AI has been a lifesaver for that. Really makes a difference. So you can also get really cool cloud formations. It's not only about the lightning, it's about everything that accompanies this. This was outside of Wilcox, Arizona, in southeastern Arizona, and they got deluged with 2 inches of rain in like 3 hours right there. So this one is kind of a fun story. I told you about Cameron that I go shooting with all the time. This is the only time we've ever fought in 13 years of shooting. So I see this structure. I think this structure is so freaking cool, right? Like I'm like screaming at him. And then this light, the rainbow came out of it. Well, one thing I want you to know is lightning follows rain shafts. Okay? So here's the rain shaft, right? See all that rain coming down. Lightning follows rain shafts. So I'm looking for that. I'm going, it's going to throw bolts. It's going to throw bolts. And he goes, no, we need to go somewhere else. We need to go somewhere else. And I said, no, it's so beautiful right here. So I got mad and started driving, which is rare because we've never fought before. And then I just stopped the car and got out because I go, I'm going to at least get one shot. And then it all dissipated. So I was like, see? So I call this moving on just to get him. So this is an anvil cloud. And anvil clouds are really cool. They're also a haboob. You see the haboob here? This is when you have the sandstorm. And this is called an anvil cloud. And anvil clouds come after it's dumped its rain. After it's dumped it. So they're really beautiful though. And this one, this was just so beautiful to have everything in one shot for me. That was just really cool. And then I love the contrast of the skies when they turn really dark blue like that, and then the golden afternoon sun comes in and lights up the foreground. So I play with that. And then, like, you know, we saw, and we were gonna try to get on the other side. This was a weird one because coming at us was the rain, behind it was the lightning. So we actually went behind this and got a bunch of lightning. But you know, when we can see something like this too, that's really cool. Uh-huh. Both. I use my software and my eyes. Yeah. Because sometimes you get fooled by software, you know, and it's usually 10 minutes behind, I think, in most software. So, you know, and we've done it so much, we kind of pay attention to what's where and all of that. But we're not always right. We're not always right, you know. But I think I'm more right than not most of the time. But that's a great question. Yeah. So I'm always looking. I'm always looking with my eyes. And when I went with Byron all the time, because Byron, you know, he had done it for 69 years. So he knew by the shape of the cloud, this is going to happen, this is going to happen. And I would be like, and he would explain it to me because he was an old science teacher in high school. So he was the best partner to go with for a long, long time. So this is, I'm shooting lightning this way, and I turn around and I see the moonrise. And I'm like, oh, how cool is that? You know, so you have to pay attention all around you, you know, not just in one direction. I think we kind of, as photographers, get stuck on seeing one thing, you know, and then I love long exposures. Like this is really cool to get where you have star trails a little bit up here. You get the movement of the cloud. I love the movement of clouds. I think they look so cool. And where lightning is inside the cloud. It's lighting up inside the clouds. Those are my favorite shots, when lighting gets inside. Okay. So now you also can composite with lightning. Now I have to tell you this story because it's really pretty funny. So this was a lunar eclipse. And you know, because I was always stopping at the ocean to shoot in the morning for an hour or more before school started, which has saved my sanity, by the way, right? You're at the ocean for an hour every morning. You go to school and you're like, whatever, I don't care what you guys do, you know? So I'm on this cliff in Carlsbad, and I swear to you, this witch flies by, okay? And I am shooting the moon setting because the sun is rising behind me in the east. In the west, the moon is going down, and it was almost full, but it was eclipse, a lunar eclipse at that time in the morning. So I was there to shoot that, and a friggin' witch goes by. Now, this is like 5 years ago. And this witch goes flying by, and I was like this. And now, do you see anything that makes that look like a drone? Do you see any wings on it? Do you see anything that makes it look like a drone? Nothing, right? Nothing. And I was like, I think I'm going crazy here. And then, so I'm looking all around, and way down the beach, because I'm up on a cliff, way down the beach down there, somebody's waving at me, and I was like, oh shit, so that is a drone, right? But I've never seen one before or since that looks like that without any wings or anything. So yeah, so that's my flying witch with the moon in it. Yeah. Yeah, that part is, but not the lightning. I added the lightning. Okay. Yeah. This is at my house. Yes. Oh, sure. Sorry. Go ahead. Oh, yes. You did? Oh, no way. He said he saw a video of the guy who has that drone, that witch. I feel so much better now. Because I really thought I was going crazy. Because this was like not even, like now I could see maybe there's drones that you don't see wings on, right? But back then, I expect wings to be like this big, and there was nothing. So thank you for that. Yeah. Okay. So yeah. So this is at my house, and I love this because it looked like a tsunami, and so I put the moon in it just because. Now, let me ask you guys, what do you think was photoshopped in this one? Okay. So lightning, swirl, the moon. None of the above. So let me tell you this one. Some of you, I think, used to shoot film. Hands up. Film. Okay. Those of you with your hands up, do you remember the days when we had to shoot when we wanted to get a moon in our picture, a full moon, where we would shoot and double expose our moons? Yes, I see yeses. Okay, so we used to take the films. Those of you who don't use film, just shut your ears for a minute. So we would take the leader out and we would load it in the camera and we would shoot a whole roll of moons, right? Sometimes in the upper right, sometimes in the upper left, sometimes in the middle, and like in a roll of 36, which is what film came in, I'd go 12, I'd write on the leader. The first 12 are on the left side, then the second 12 are in the middle, the third are here, and then I ended up with a picture of a friend of mine with a moon in his eyeball. So I decided no more. Anytime I do this now, I will always shoot the moon in the same place for the whole roll. Okay, but then, so we would shoot the moon because the correct exposure for the moon is 1/125th of a second at f11 at ISO 100 because it's reflecting the sun. So it's a really, really fast exposure. So, but any other scene you try to do at night, you can't get any detail, right? So we would shoot the moon and we would learn how, and because we all did this, we would learn how to rewind our camera film back, leave the leader out, right on the leader, all moons, upper left-hand corner or whatever, right? So this shot is the 37th shot on a roll of Kodachrome. You guys remember Kodachrome? A roll of Kodachrome, the very last shot in Organ Pipe National Monument in southern Arizona. And this storm was going on around me. I saw the saguaro, and I knew I had a moon in there, but when I got it back, the lightning was so perfectly placed around the moon, and I was just like stunned. So this is old school, really old school. Tells you how old I am, right? All right. So here is, this was I was with Byron in eastern Arizona, and this abandoned house had lightning all around it, but I couldn't get any, so I got mad. So I just got home and put it in there. And then my cat, I put in the window here. He's looking up at the lightning, so. I just did this one last week. There's a gallery doing a show called The Crow Show in San Diego. So I wanted to put lightning with crows that I have in my backyard, so I played with that. So multiple strikes together you can do because it's really neat because your camera's on a tripod, so you can put as many things in there as you want, right? Stacking them is really easy. So this is a really, do you guys, any of you Southwest Indian people who like that? Okay. Do you know about Coppock? Coppock is a god of fertility in a lot of Indian lore. So this is my Coppock rocks shot. And this is how it started. So I took this shot up above in arches. Totally boring, horrible shot, but I knew I wanted to someday composite it. And then there's another boring shot of lightning down below. So I said, will it work? So when I overlapped them, you can see it's all crappy because you can see the outline of the edges up here. It's all bad. But I just wanted to see if it would work. And I go, oh, wow, look how cool that looks because it's right in the right spot, And so then I decided that it looked really good. So I want to crop it. I want to adjust it for density, contrast, all matching perfectly. And then I go, oh my gosh, this looks like totally looked like it, right? So I was like, oh, cool. Well, because I do Photoshop, I was like, okay. We are going to make it Coppock. Yes. Yeah, arches. So So I posted this on Facebook because I knew it was really obvious that it was a composite, right? And then people were telling me, oh my gosh, you got lightning that looks like Cocopelli? And so then you want to just go, yes, I did. How cool is that? That lightning came and made little streaks up here in his hair, and made a nice flute perfectly, and yeah. So that's my Cocopelli rocks. But I like it because it reminds me of the Southwest, All right, so I want to take you on a storm chasing trip with me. This is in August 2018, 5 days with Cameron. Day one, this was in 2018. I bought my Subaru in 2019, brand new. And I'm driving on the freeway to go pick up Cameron. He lived in San Diego proper at that time, and my freaking tire explodes 15 miles from my house. It's on a Sunday, and Discount Tire's not open on Sunday, so AAA comes out, puts my donut tire on, and I just decide I'll just drive and pick up Cameron with my donut tire, right? My donut tire's never been used, so it's brand new, which is part of this story. So we decide we're going to drive anyway to Oregon Pipe. If you know where Oregon Pipe is, it's south of Tucson, on the very southern border of Arizona and Mexico. And so we just decide we're going to drive it because that's where we were going, on my donut tire. So we drive 23 miles on a dirt road, a loop, and we were rewarded with this incredible shot. Look, if any of you ever been to Oregon Pipe National Monument, isn't it beautiful? It looks like somebody took something and just laid out a garden of cacti and stuff. Oh, it's so beautiful. It's one of my favorite places. Anyway, so lightning's going off, and it's so beautiful, and so we decide we're going to spend the night, sleep in the car, because it's too hot to sleep outside, Pardon? We just lean the seats back. Oh, and by the way, Cameron's 6'6". Yeah, we just put our seats back. Yeah. So then we get up to this beautiful morning. Okay, day two, we drive to Tucson, still on the donut tire. Okay, because it's all desert everywhere. So we've gone about 500 miles on this donut tire, which you're supposed to go like what, 100 or something? 50? Is it 50? No. Okay. Yeah, you tell me. So that's no wonder the tire starts screaming about 10 miles from, because the other thing is, I have a Subaru and it's a all-wheel drive and you have to match the tires. You can't, or get two in the front, whatever. So we call and they say they have one, thank God. So the tire is screaming right before we get there. I have no idea what that is. And Cameron's a car person and he's like, I think it's okay. So we drive to Safford, which is in eastern Arizona. Now this really sucked. It's 117. Okay, so we go to a motel because what we do when we're storm chasing, we used to camp, and I don't do that anymore. Also because we don't, and the thing about when we go to motels is we never know what time we're going to get in. So we usually call whatever and make a reservation like 10 minutes before we're going to get there, because we don't know where we're going to be. And no one's in the desert in August when it's 117. So we're not worried about that. So, but we get to this motel where there's a pimp guy outside, and then a hooker out there, and we're like, oh, great. But we're so tired. And then the air conditioner is off when we get into the room. Oh, that was like, are you kidding me? So it takes 5 hours to cool us off. It was like the worst night ever. So we head to New Mexico the next day because we're going to go try to see this. And these are like perfect because we're like, we'll get right in the middle here and then we'll have 3 storms around us, right? So day 3, we stop for a breakfast in Alamogordo, New Mexico. I leave my ATM card in the restaurant. I find out I left it in when I try to purchase a turquoise ring in Gallup, New Mexico, which I do that every time I go. I get one to record my storm chasing. And then I don't get my ATM card back for a couple weeks, of course, And then I start shooting trains. I have a thing about trains, so I have a lot of train pictures. So that was my creation. Then we head to northern New Mexico to chase storms at sunset. I find a beautiful thunderhead and a great road, and I get only one shot. But it's so worth it. Look how cool that shot is, you know. So then we spend a night in Albuquerque with real air conditioning, and then I accidentally leave my memory foam pillow behind. So day 4, I try to use my 5D Mark II. I get a weird error message in dark images, and then I carry a 50D crop sensor to use with telephoto, you know, so that I can use my 70 to 200, which makes it longer, and I don't have to carry my 150 to 600 with me. So, and then only thing that works for the rest of the trip is my Canon 6D, and so we get these really cool clouds on the way to Flagstaff. So I made it into this. So we head to Payson. This is the best part of the story. Anybody been to Payson, Arizona? It's really pretty. Lots of pine trees up in the mountains of Arizona. Really cool weather too. So storms are all around us, and we're trying to find a forest road to get off because we want to get off main roads. We always want to get off main roads. We find a forest road, like a fire road where, you know, fire guys go. And then we find the road is blocked by a gate. So my partner, Cameron, who's deathly afraid of snakes, I had pet snakes going up, so not me. He gets out of the car and he hears hissing and he thinks it's a snake, but it's actually 2 of our tires. One tire is completely flat and the other is hissing and losing air. And then, of course, as all good photographers, we have duct tape with us, right? Thinking we're going to plug up that hole with duct tape. Yeah. So we plug up the hole. We're trying to get service because a lot of times there isn't service there. And AAA, by the way, hates me. And they don't do what they're supposed to do. Let me just go there. Okay, so we call AAA, and there's only, I swear, we're walking around trying to get a signal. Oh, we got a signal. Oh my God, I'm trying to get AAA. So we call AAA. We wait 2 hours. Cameron gives them every coordinate, because Cameron's really into this stuff, right? He gives them the exact name of the road, the forest road, the fire truck road, or whatever you call it. And he gives them exact coordinates, and the guy keeps saying, you know, I can't find you. And then, of course, we have to go back to that 3-foot area spot to call every time. So finally, we just give up, and we just go, sorry, screw it. But we didn't say screw it. We said the F word. And we said, we're gonna put the donut tire back on. The infamous donut tire. We're going to put it back on the one that's completely flat, the one that's hissing with the duct tape. It's just going to be on the rim, basically. And we drive up to the top. And you can see over here that this is the dirt road we were coming up, but this is the main road out here. And that's where this guy meets us. And the thing is, it's one single road going down, and so we're driving up and we're driving up and we're driving up, and we get up there, and he comes from behind us, like we should have passed him, and we were like, where the hell were you? And he goes, anyway, and so he tells us that no one wanted to come get us because somebody had been killed on that road the week before, and that no one wanted to come get us. Yeah. So we're like, oh, thanks for telling us that, and we were like, maybe it was you, you know. So we spend the night at a motel in Payson. We get 2 new tires. And then, of course, the old tires have to go in because they're discount tires. So you have to bring them back in to get your money back. Right, because it's not a discount there. It's a different tire company, so I had to pay for them. So we have to cram them into the back of my Subaru. And then here's what I shot while waiting for the tow truck driver. And they're out of focus, so I guess I can be forgiven for that. 5 days, 3 tires blown, 2 broken cameras, 2 rescues by AAA, 1 lost ATM card, 1 lost pillow, 2,000 miles, priceless. All right. Now, I got COVID in 2020, in the middle of all the COVID people. I was hospitalized for 7 days. So that was the only time we didn't go on our trip because we were supposed to go during those days. So the following year, I told Cameron, I want to go the exact same days I was hospitalized last year, you know, thinking I wasn't going to live. And I want to go on those exact same days next year. So in 2021, we went on those exact days. And these are the shots that we got. So So I was shooting this train track because I love trains, and I was like, look how cool it is. It's going right in there. Maybe there'll lightning come out. And lightning came out, and then this happened. That was so cool because I have a tripod and I hear rumble, 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 rumble. And I was like, oh crap, because it's a long exposure, it's going to be all bouncy and whatever. But it wasn't. Look at it. Isn't that so cool? I love that shot. And then we only get one flat tire. So we have the indestructible donut tire back on the car again. Same one. Can you get new donut tires? Can you? I mean, does anybody go into a tire shop and say, I need a new donut tire? Probably not. Yeah, they'll probably say that. Go to the donut shop. All right, so this was right after COVID. So one of the things that happened was we both said the same thing. Everybody was so nice everywhere we were. But there people are usually nice, but I mean like overly nice, like so nice. And we kept saying, oh my God, this is like, he goes, I think we're in another planet. I think we got transported to another planet because everybody was so nice. And right when he says that, we see this police car in the window. And Cameron's driving. And he had just passed a bunch of cars going really fast. And so I take a picture of that and I'm like, sure. So he comes up and he sees our car, it's completely full of, camera gear and a big cooler and all this stuff. And he goes, what are you guys doing? And so I show him pictures and stuff. And he was really, really nice. And then, he walks back and comes back with a piece of paper. And I was like, I guess we're not on another planet. And he goes, I'm just giving you a warning this time. Oh, we are on another planet. So, and this is what we do to celebrate. So Cameron and I are bourbon and cigar people. So, all right. So this is our trip in August 2022. This is a bucket list shot for me where I got lightning and the Milky Way in the same shot. I've been wanting to get that for 10 years and I finally got it. Really cool sky. This is neat with all the stuff in one shot. And then this is at our motel. Got to get it wherever you can. More cool structures. So we even get lightning close to home. This is an Oceanside. So we had great storms, and hopefully this year too, maybe with the El Nino stuff. So this is what I used. I had the camera remote, tripod, towels, and a flashlight. So, and this is that same day that I was on my way to school where I saw my other student there. And I was, if you know me, because everybody who knows me texts me when they see lightning and they know it's by me and they'll go, I can hear you screaming from here. And she's in Washington State, So I'm screaming because I see this and I'm right there and I'm getting it. And so this jogger comes by and he says, can I, are you getting some good stuff? I said, oh my God, it's so cool. I show him on the back of my camera. And he goes, oh, that's so beautiful. And he goes, I don't have a card. I don't even have a wallet. I don't have a phone. I don't have anything. Can I put my number in your phone? Because he was jogging. And I said, sure. He ended up buying this one and the one with Carter in it in canvas. And I sent it to him in Colorado. It was pretty cool. More, this is Oceanside. It's called the crawler when it does that. Yes. Oh. For me, good point. Good point. Thank you, Jeanette. Thank you. Yeah. You're never going to let me live that down now, right? Yeah. What? Because we had so much rain and so much flooding that I didn't know for sure if the meeting was still going to go on. So this one's cool because it's got Venus in it and the moon, which was kind of fun. Okay, so I have a few more. So this is if you want to get any advice or have questions, you can take a picture of that. Or okay, good. And then may you two have as much fun as I do. By the way, can you guess what's in that cup? Bourbon. All right, so this is my dear friend Byron, and that's my tribute. And then I have to show you this because this is my dog, and he's famous. This is his sister, by the way. So I hope you know these artists because I'm titling them after the same way. See Frida Toby's eyebrows? This is my favorite, one of my favorites, because I put even the back of Toby's fur here, and he's got his face, his face, his face, and all of those. This is my favorite artist, Magritte, so I had to do two of them for that. Toby had major surgery on his leg. He had to have his bones fused, so that's why he has a cast on his leg. So, all right, so there you go. Yes, please question. Photography. How lucky was I, right? Before that, I taught English, and before that, I taught photography at college, Palomar College. And the funniest thing was that I was used to people having like, the full class, and people were waitlisting my classes. And then I get to high school and I'm teaching English, and they hate your guts as soon as you walk in, right? Because you're teaching English, So that I wasn't used to that, and so then when I started teaching photography, it was better. Lee. Very similar, almost exactly the same. Yeah, almost exactly the same. The problem with fireworks is you could, because it depends on if you want movement of them, like, where you get streaks, or if you want them to like stop. So yeah, it's a little bit different that way because lightning is such a fast, the fastest thing is light. And so when a lightning bolt hit, no matter what shutter speed you're at, it's sharp. Unless you have movement of the camera, but the lightning will be sharp. Not the same thing with fireworks. So yeah, great question though. My gear has gotten wet and have not had an issue. It's people baby stuff, and I don't think they should. I don't want to sit it out in floods, of course. A couple times I take that back. One year, I had an issue because it came down all of a sudden on us, and it got really wet, and I dried it all off. But it was like being finicky for like 2 hours. But that's it. Yeah. Otherwise, it was fine. I'm sure that dampness got into some of the circuitry and stuff. So I don't know. I took we have Kurt's Cam Repair down there, and I took my 5D Mark II, and they fixed it. They just said there was some shutter issue. The 50D was trash. Yeah, no good. Goner. Yeah. Go ahead. Oh, workshops. Yes. Mike, pardon? Can I be bought? Here's the issue. I'll tell you why. Because I would love to do it, but I don't ever know for sure if there's going to be lightning when we go out there, Because I think how fun it would be to show people what I get to experience, but it's just so hard because it's not like going to La Jolla Cove and knowing the birds are there. You go in there, and you go to Yellowstone. And by the way, you guys who went to Yellowstone, I took that same trip in 2019, 2020, right on the New Year with my daughter, with those yellow things. And I loved it. First time I'd ever been there, and in the winter, it's so awesome. And so that's why, because there's too many logistics that I can't predict. I can't predict where it's going to be, so I can't say you could stay in this hotel. We all stay here. It's just too much stuff going on with that. Sorry. Tempest Tours, and that's on my bucket list because they're tornado chasers. They're tornado chasers, yeah. Tempest Tours does that. And that's really cool too because they also get lightning and all that stuff. But that's on my bucket list to get a tornado someday. Thank you for saying that. Yeah, I couldn't think of the name of one of them. That's one of them. There's a couple of them. If you go online and just look up Storm Chasers Arizona, there's several. Anybody else? Questions? Really? You sure? Yes. Nick filter. Do you know what Nick filters are? They're like a plug-in for Photoshop, and they have different effects that you can get on them. And, it's kind of an interesting thing. Those have been around a long time. Nick filters were expensive at one time, and then they were really cheap, and then they were free for a little while, and then they were really expensive again. So I don't even know now. I have no clue now what it's like. What is it like? You know? Okay. Who owns them? Okay. So, yeah, but they're plug-ins through Photoshop that you could get different effects from. Yeah. Yes. Do I what? I took him when he was 5 months old. I took him on his first trip. He cut his paw, and on glass, he went out and got in the car, and his paw had a big cut in it. And in pouring rain, we took him to Alamogordo emergency vet, and I'm thinking, oh, this is going to be like $500, and it was like $30 or 35. I know. It was shocking. And they go, oh, he's fine. It doesn't need to be sewn up. We'll just wrap it. And so, yeah. But the reason I don't now is because it's too hot. That's the main reason. I take him anywhere where it's not going to be hot. I mean, we took him once on that trip, and because he was little, we could leave the air conditioner on and stuff. I have to tell you this horrible story. Carlsbad Caverns. We took him on that trip to Carlsbad Caverns, and I ate something for breakfast at a motel, which I'll never do again. And the free breakfast that you get. So I basically lived on Imodium for 5 days. I took in one day 12 Imodium. Okay, it was so bad. So we go to Carlsbad Caverns, and we're caravanning with another car, and we get there, and I go, I don't know if I can do this. So, because we had to stop so often, everywhere. And I have little Toby with me, and Cameron, and we had read that they said you can bring a dog, and for $10 they'll hold the dog, and then in this whatever air conditioned thing, and you could go down. So Cameron he says, I'll take the dog in because he won't want to be away from you. So I start to go down, and it's 60 stories, right? Down to Carlsbad Caverns, down the thing, and by the time I get to the bottom, I have to get to the restroom, run to the front of the line. I don't care how long it is. And I go, I can't do this. I'm going to go back up. And when Cameron came back after he dropped Toby off, he looked really weird. And I said, why do you look so weird? He goes, no, it's all okay. I go back up and I go, I'm going to go sit in the car. I'm going to get Toby, and I go up there, and they have these cages stacked like this, like 6 of them. And Toby's like up here in this little thing with like wire bottom, not even a layer of anything to stand on. I was like crying. Oh my God, my Toby. And then they go, you need a ticket. I said, yeah, give me my dog. And so Cameron's like, that's why I didn't want to tell you what that was like. Yeah. So sorry, going off on tangents like I always do. Any other questions? No? All right. Thank you.